Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mr. Hicks Podcast. We're here getting it in once again, time and time again. So look, NFL free agency has started, and I'm going to tilt this down because, yeah, that's a little weird. There we go. So NFL free agency has started, and teams are starting to make moves. This is basically not really happening until tomorrow, but they're starting to make moves. You're starting to see this guy's going here, this guy's signing there, this guy's got an extension, this guy's staying. So what do you make of all of this? Well, what you should make of all of this is exactly what it always is. Bad people pick bad people. Dumb people make poor decisions. Doesn't matter what their degree is. It doesn't matter how smart you think they are. It doesn't matter whose son they are, whether they were in the family, whether they played, whether they didn't play. Bad people pick bad people. Doesn't matter if you played. Doesn't mean because you played that you make good football decisions. Just because you were good in this role does not mean that you're good. You're going to be good in another role in an organization. And then bad ownership is just plain old bad ownership. As I've already said, bad people pick bad people. So a bad owner does not pick a good president or a general manager or a head coach. They continue to pick people who are not necessarily incompetent, but usually not right for the position that they've been given, or not good enough or don't have enough experience, because you're a dumpster fire of an organization. Nobody wants to work for you. So you end up either getting somebody that's incompetent or somebody who doesn't have good experience. So that's why you get these snowball effects where people just continue, some franchises continue to make bad choices. So example, the bad franchises are always going to make the bad decisions. They're going to overpay for free agents because they have to, because nobody really wants to go there. They're going to overdraft guys, and they're going to reach for guys like quarterbacks and left tackles and what have you, because they need one, because they always need one. They're going to misuse people. They're going to bring in, they want to pick a guy who's a slot corner, and they're going to try to put him toward the boundary, or they're going to try to put him on the number one guy who was a corner. Well, you don't really know what the skill set is for the particular defense that you play, and that particular corner that you drafted just doesn't fit what is neat. There's no point in telling you this because you don't listen. And another thing they hire bad coaches. So they're going to hire bad decision makers. Like I said, they're professionals. They've been doing this for a long time, all of them. So not necessarily bad people, not necessarily terrible at all things, but usually not good enough at the thing they've been hired to do. The Browns are always going to make poor decisions, as they have. The Chiefs, not the Chiefs, the Bengals are cheap. The Bengals have always been cheap. Like I heard at one point that there was a high school in Cincinnati that had an indoor facility, and the Bengals did not. So they're cheap organizations. They're poor organizations, and you can start to see it. Like the New England Patriots really overpaid for Milton Williams, for a guy that was paid maybe 50% of the snaps, if that, and he was mostly a run-stopping dude, and he wasn't even a great run-stopping dude. Sometimes you got a player that had a great year. We'll talk a little bit about this more in a minute. A guy who had a great year at the right time off a Super Bowl team or a championship level team, and a bad franchise goes, that team was really good. That team made it to the Super Bowl. We want a piece of that, and that guy is available. Let's get him. Well, that might not be all the best of decisions either, but so trust the people to do what they do. Trust bad teams to make bad decisions, and trust good teams to make good decisions. So to my point, so anybody remember when the Chiefs let go of Tyreek Hill? Not what everybody thought at the moment was a great decision. Matter of fact, we thought it was a dumpster fire of a decision. And what did they do? They went on to win the Super Bowl without him. Then Green Bay moves off of Aaron Rodgers. This was a shocker to me because I didn't think Jordan Love was really that dude. I didn't think he was that dude when he got drafted. And I thought if he was really better than Aaron Rodgers, they'd be starting him right now. But maybe because Aaron Rodgers sounds like a Karen, and he probably would have had such a fit if he'd got benched, or if you move on with him in the building. You just couldn't do it. So they move on from Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers' time for the Jets was an absolute dumpster fire, and Jordan Love appears to really be very talented, appears to be the guy they got their quarterback of the future. So now, when the Eagles decide to let people go, or when a good organization decides to let somebody go, I think one of a couple things is going on here. Number one, they think that person's value was topped out. Like, they've gotten as much out of that person as they think they can, and they know that that person's going to ask for more money, and you're like, no, you are properly compensated. You're not worth any more than you're getting from us. We're not going to do that. We think we can get just as much value or close to it value out of another player, either in free agency or in the draft, or somebody that's already on our roster. So we're not going to overpay you. Howie is really good at his roster management and talent management. So I'm going to trust him when it comes to that. Number two, you've got more value in trade than you have in play. So if, like for right now, I think Myles Garrett, for as much as he is an amazing football player, Myles Garrett does not make them even a playoff team. They don't know who the quarterback's going to be. They got too many holes on the rest of that team. But even though Myles Garrett is awesome, he's got more in trade value than he has in football on the field value. Yes, I'd like to keep him, but free agents don't want to come here. So it's very difficult to get the pieces around him without drafting them. And we're not very good at that. And he's in the prime of his career. So yes, he's great. You're never going to get better value for a guy like that. Guys like that usually don't hit the market ever. So you're never going to get more value for him than you could possibly get right now. And if you drafted somebody that was really, really good, that guy's not going to be in his prime for 3 or 4 years. So one will be on the way up, one will be on the way down, and the things really don't match. If you bring in a free agent, you're going to have to overpay, and it's going to thin out your depth and the ability you have to sign free agents and pay your own players down the line. So again, a lot of things going on there as far as people who just don't re-sign their own players. So to me, the Eagles are very good at evaluating their own players and deciding you are properly compensated and you are asking more than we are willing to pay for what you do. And we're just not going to do that anymore. So I say that to talk about C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Everyone is so shocked about him being traded, and I'm really not. I'm a big believer in you got to know your defense and know what is pivotal in your defense and what's not. Some defenses require you to have great middle linebacker play. And so you maybe overspend to get or keep a player that is pivotal to the defense you play. The defense that Nick Fangio plays, really, really good line play, really pivotal to have that 3 technique havoc causing defensive tackle, which we have in Jalen Carter. He makes everybody else's job easier because he guarantees that there's going to be those 5 guys blocking 4 guys. Somebody's going to have to double team him. So now it's going to be 4-on-4. He makes sure that you're going to have one-on-one matchups on the outside. Him and Jordan Davis are so big and so fast and so disruptive that they're actually able to make sure that your guards and those centers cannot come off the line, cannot combo off and get into your linebackers, which allows your linebackers to play better because now they can flow. You can drop them into coverage. You can blitz them. You can delay blitz them. There's so much more you can do when you have the players and the play at the positions that you need for the defense that you play. Now, does this defense really need a great safety? I don't even know that he is a great safety. I think he had a safety with great numbers. And what that means to me is he was surrounded by talent. He had a great pass rush. He had a Pro Bowl, all-pro linebacker underneath him. You had guys like Nolan Smith on the outside. You had Quinyon Mitchell. You had Deshaun Jackson, Darius Slay. He's surrounded by talent. So a safety who can free range and play a little more loose, knowing that his guys are going to be able to do their job. I don't know to say that he's not going to do his responsibility, but you can play a lot more free and loose when you know that everybody else is going to be able to do their job. He had more value in trade to the Eagles than he had in play on the field. I don't know if Kelee Ringo is going to play some safety. I've always thought that he had some potential there. You got Blankenship. So I believe that we've got great players in the secondary and great young players in the secondary, and we're going to be fine. So getting value out of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, to me, is a great move. So another thing I want to bring up, so Justin Fields got traded to I don't know if he got traded, he got picked up by the Jets. The Jets are going to Jets. To me, as bad as a situation as he's had, signing with the Jets makes absolutely no sense to me. That is another bad franchise. I don't give a damn how much money they wanted to give you. At a certain point, you got to stop beating yourself. You have to stop going to bad situations. Like, oh, I'm going to go play with my boy, Chris Olave. I don't care if y'all came out the womb at the same time. That is not enough reason for you to go play for the Jets. Don't choose to play for the Jets. People that get drafted by the Jets don't want to play for the Jets. Do you not see the pattern here? You are making poor decisions. You went to the Browns. That was a poor decision. Got drafted by the Browns. That wasn't your decision. Okay. I'm not sure if he got traded to the Steelers or if he was just let go. But I can totally understand not thinking that going to the Steelers would be a bad move. They're not great offensively, but they're never really stellar offensively. They don't really have the quarterback for that. Maybe he hoped that he would be that dude, but it is a historically great franchise. I'm not really mad at somebody for wanting to be a Steeler. Purposely going to the Jets, however, there's something wrong with you. I believe everybody should be looked at very, very carefully if they're deciding to go to the Jets. The Jets cannot get right at the quarterback position. They can't draft them well. They can't bring out the good free agents. Jets are kind of Jets. It's just, don't see this getting much better in the near future. And speaking of the Jets, I do want to talk about Aaron Rodgers a little bit because Aaron Rodgers is doing what a lot of great quarterbacks do. Aaron Rodgers cannot read the room, cannot be honest with himself and go, I'm not the same player that I used to be. This is particularly egregious when it comes to quarterbacks. And I think it's because the thing that makes quarterbacks great is also the thing that hinders them at the end of their career. They always believe they can come back. They want the ball in their hands. They want you to believe, hey, this guy can't do it. This guy's over the hill. We don't believe that he can. They like that, a lot of them. They like that challenge. But eventually, it's not trash talk. Eventually, it's just true. You really can't make the same throws. You're really not as agile. You really can't scramble the way that you used to. You really can't keep your eyes downfield. You get past a certain point, like you don't like getting hit the way you used to. Hitting that ground, I'm telling you, I'm 48. So getting up, falling down, all of those things are a little bit more difficult than they were previously. So I can only imagine getting hit by a 260-pound dude that runs a 4.5 40 and hitting the hard ground when you're in your early 40s as an NFL player is not fun. Aaron, I wouldn't say Aaron destroyed this organization because this organization was already terrible. It was almost like rearranging the rocks in Afghanistan or Beirut. It's like, yeah, I'm just making the big rocks into smaller rocks at this point. It's already pretty bad. But like, they brought in his favorite receivers. They brought in Lazard. They brought in Devontae Adams. They brought in his OC. They continued to surround him with guys that made him feel comfortable, so that he felt like he could do what it is that he do. I need my guys around me. He gets them. He gets hurt. The next year he comes by, he's not the same player, and he's never going to be the same player. And it's like, how the Jets keep falling for this, I don't know. I mean, I know they're dumb, but it's like they just, until you get a new owner, the Jets are kind of always going to be this way. But I don't think anybody's going to pick Aaron Rodgers up. I think he's more headache than he's worth at this point. The only teams that are going to want him are bad teams, and they're bad for a reason. So you either don't have an O-line, or you don't have weapons, or you don't have a running game, or you don't have play callers and scheme. And the only teams that would want Aaron Rodgers would be teams that are desperate for attention, desperate for some type of spark of offense, and they're basically taking that, and instead of putting it where it belongs in the schematic and the front office, they're going to put it on Aaron and let Aaron, an age over the hill Aaron Rodgers, try to do it. I hope Aaron does the right thing and he retires gracefully. But most quarterbacks don't. Most quarterbacks don't. Joe Montana didn't. Peyton Manning didn't. So Aaron Rodgers didn't. Brett Favre didn't. I mean, Aaron Rodgers hadn't done it. Brett Favre didn't. Most of these quarterbacks, I always feel like they got to go somewhere and prove that they can still do it. They can't. And the thing about quarterbacks is you don't know when that arm is going to fall off. Eventually, that arm is just dead. You cannot make an accurate throw past 15 yards with the same accuracy. Your will and your mind says you can make that throw. Excuse me. Says you can make that throw, and you cannot. And you will keep trying until eventually somebody just like shoots the old horse. It sucks. I understand. Nobody likes to see their heroes deteriorate like this. But unfortunately, our heroes don't have the wherewithal to just ride off into the sunset with dignity. That's my time. Take it easy.